There comes a time, as a reviewer, that you have to separate nostalgia from what a game actually is, where you have to take your personal bias and attempt to set them aside in order to give a fair and accurate representation of what a game truly is. And that's what I have to do with Scrapyard Dog. Because honestly, I like Scrapyard Dog. It wasn't the side-scrolling platformer we wanted, but it's the one we got, and back then, we learned to enjoy what we had. But today we have choices. The choice is to play some of the greatest games ever created on a whim. So the question is, with the choices to play anything available to you, is Scrapyard Dog worth your time? In Scrapyard Dog, you play as Louie, the junkyard guy, and while attempting to eat a particularly disgusting sandwich, you learn that your junkyard dog, Scraps, has been kidnapped by the nefarious Mr. Big. So off you go, traveling across several junkyards, urban settings, and sewers on your quest to answer phones for increasingly silly directions to your precious pup. Well, that's if you can make it that far. The truth is, Louie gains momentum extremely quick, and while he can usually take 2 hits, as denoted by his flashing shirt, the enemies are designed to punish you for using the game's said momentum. That is to say, things will come flying into the screen, such as tires and basketballs, without notice, stealing hits and ultimately all your lives. It's like the game can't decide if it wants to be Sonic or Mario. So you have to do everything in your power to avoid building momentum, and slowly progress the screen, ready to avoid an enemy at a moment's notice. And it's just not conducive to fun, unfortunately. But if you make it past the junkyard, then you'll enter what I usually find to be the more balanced stages, and that's the urban alleyway sort of levels. Here, you don't really encounter pits, and you have the option to try and use your momentum to stay high above a lot of the cheaper enemies, and obstacles. But you still aren't safe, even up there. Go too fast and you'll be punished by water balloons, birds, and windows that open and knock you back down to the road below. Still, even if you face mostly the same enemies as before, I find these stages usually to be a tad more fair than the previous. After that, you get to the sewers, and oh god, is the sewers where this one loses a lot of people. In the sewers, you have to travel across pipes and catwalks, as you avoid deadly endless pits to the sewage below. But some of the jumps are long, and require you to be at full momentum just to make it to the other side, and even then, it's just barely. It's not fair, and for the most part, it's not fun. Even if you make it past one seemingly impossible jump, you're usually rewarded with another. And if you survive, you get to do the cycle of junkyard, urban environment, and sewers all over again. 5 times. Things don't change up until you reach Mr. Big's lair, which is actually a lot of fun compared to what came before. It's a shame most won't get to experience that level. You also have music-centric mini-games, where you have to play back tunes for bonus cans and some items. On the 7800? Really? Using the stock TIA? Really? No, thank you. I just avoid these. But you can also buy additional hits, lives, and items from going down other recycling bins. In the urban environments, you can knock on some doors 3 times, usually to acquire more cash or items. And in the sewers, you can go down different pipes to reach more sewer platforming, or sometimes to navigate past obstacles, or in very, very rare occasions, to bypass levels completely. Nice. So, up to this point, I've sort of skipped over the graphics and sound, and that's because the gameplay is really what's holding this one back. I mean, the audio is repetitive, and the music can be mind-numbing, but all that can be remedied by muting the television and listening to whatever it is you like. I'm not excusing it, but I mean, come on, it's a 7800. We all know what the sound's mostly like. The graphics are pretty ugly, but not so much that it should offend you. I mean, Louie is an unappealing hero, but he does the job being our conduit into this world. I wish the enemies had more appeal and thought put behind them. I mean, how can cans, tires, rats, and birds compete with things like Goombas, Koopa Troopas, or even the robotic enemies of Sonic the Hedgehog? There's just little personality in this one, outside of your dirty junk guy fighting dirty junk enemies. Still, I don't find any of it offensive, and I could have forgiven it if the gameplay had been top-notch. The game opens up the more you play it and learn to abide by its rules, but it's not going to be worth the time. But remember, it was a bit different back in the day, when this was the only platformer we had on the 7800. And to be honest, I personally still enjoy Scrapyard Dog. I beat it the other day for the first time. Well, twice due to a glitch. And I don't regret playing it all the way to the end. If you're somebody that wants to experience the obscure or difficult, then give it a shot. But everybody else could safely pass on it. That's why Scrapyard Dog, despite my nostalgia and love for it, is going to get 2 Proline controllers out of 5. It has a few more secrets to discover than you might expect, and it can be fun if you learn to abide by its challenge. Unfortunately, the momentum works against you, along with the enemy placement, and there are far too many impossible jumps. It also needed some more variety in the levels, and the mini-games needed to be improved greatly. The music isn't great, and the graphics are unappealing but do the job. So there you have it, my thoughts on Scrapyard Dog. Do you agree with my assessment? Should I have stuck to my nostalgia and gave this game a higher score? Or do you think 2 out of 5 is about right? Let me know down in the comments below. This has been John, the 7800 Pro System Gamer, and I thank you for watching another 7800 Game Review.